Ma'am, could you please state your name for the record?
Kaila Nix Schock.
Okay, can you spell your first name?
K-A-I-L-A-N-I-X, and I am not legally Schock, but S-C-H-O-C-K.
And I think we all know that how to do it.
That's my daughter.
Would you like to make a statement to the court regarding sentencing?
I would.
I'll let you do that.
Thank you. You can.
Take your time. I set aside all day for this hearing.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Honor. I had a beautiful daughter, and her name was Uriel Jane Schock, and I named her from an angel from the Old Testament of the Holy Bible. She was nothing shy of an angel. She was my rainbow baby. You know, as much as I want to start with her, I have to start on the day that my son, Ezra Schock, died. And I have to start there because I received a phone call from my husband screaming about my son, and I was unaware of what was happening. And I got into a vehicle and I flew as fast as one can fly to 1478 Kaysen Road in Wauchula, where I called my home for a large majority of my life. And on my way there, I was very careless in driving. I could see a helicopter coming to their address, and I looked at the helicopter and I didn't look in front of me. And I had a front-on collision with a very innocent woman, and I damaged that woman. And I want to publicly say that I am deeply sorry to that family because I caused them harm in that moment, and I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that and take ownership of that. But that woman isn't the only woman that I damaged that day. I was 6.5 months pregnant with my daughter, Uriel. And in that car accident, I had a placental rupture. I totaled my car. I bailed out of the passenger window with all the airbags expelled on me, climbed through the glass, barefoot, took off running down the street to 1478 Kaysen Road. And I was so stricken by grief with Ezra that I already had put her in danger due to one circumstance. And as I laid there in Tampa General with my son, I demanded an OB team come down to the NICU to sit with me because I could not leave my son, but I could not harm my daughter anymore. And I sat there for what felt like weeks, but I'm aware that it was less than 24 hours. We decided that my son was brain dead, that he had realistically died at my parents' home, and they had revived him. And so I lay there with my husband in my bed, in his bed, 6.5 months pregnant with Ezra's sister, while we took him off of life support and held him next to Uriel while he died. That was the closest they ever were together on this earth. Was her in my stomach, harmed by me. While he died. I had my daughter on March 5th. That following year, I had been on very strict bed rest. My sole obsession was Uriel. I had been told by my doctors that I needed to choose. I had to choose whether I mourned Ezra or I saved Uriel. And so I put Ezra in any version of a box that I could find inside my heart. And I put him here in the name of protecting protecting Uriel. She was my restoration. She was going to salvage my family. And that was never meant to be her purpose. She was just meant to be a beautiful little girl. But by circumstance, she became my salvation. The day that my daughter died is one I could clearly never forget. No matter how much I wish I could wash it away and just hold beautiful moments, it's not something that I can do. Had a family friend at my door to tell me again that my child was dead, and I screamed at him, "Why are you telling me about this? Why are you here?" And he said, "No, Kaila, it's your daughter. This man I've known my entire life was there to say to me again that I was going to bury a child." The day that I agreed to invite my mom into my daughter's life, I was afraid. I was terrified. But I wanted restoration with you. I wanted that. I wanted our family. I wanted to save something, Mom. I did. I wanted to save something. And you went. And I don't sit and believe that this was an intentional act. I wore this today. You and my dad gave me because I'm still your daughter. I'm still your daughter. And nothing is changing any of this. I still love you. I hate this. I hate that I had to choose. But you know I had to. And it doesn't change my heart. She was gone. I walked in with my husband to the hospital to identify her body. And I've never felt, well, actually that's not true. I felt that air leave my body before. When Ezra died in my arms, I felt it. But this time she didn't die in my arms. She was just there. Gone. My beautiful daughter was gone. The officers on site were concerned for my physical safety in that moment. They could not rationalize how one human could bear the weight of this reality, at which point they decided to take me to Tri-County. And it's not something I've spoken on before, but they brought me to Bartow. And I was on the other side of the door, and I could hear you on the other side of the door talking as I sat there. And I just remember feeling so alone in that moment. So alone, because the other thing in my head was that Drew was alone with Asher, telling my son that his sister was dead. And his next question was, "Where's my mom?" And I don't even know what he said. I don't know what he said. But I know I wasn't there for my son. So they transported me to Lakeland. They didn't have room for me there. I sat in a chair in the lobby next to the nurse's station while they made fun of me for giving another opportunity to the person who had already taken so much. And the entire night I didn't sleep, and they talked about me. And all I wanted to do was talk about my daughter, and I couldn't say a word to anyone. I was completely and utterly alone. And morning I was exposed to horrific things. Mentally ill men across the table doing disgusting things under it while I just sat there alone, waiting to be saved. Anybody can get me, because I was not suicidal. And yet there was damage there too. Your daughter died and somebody's masturbating under the table. It's horrifying. And then this court proceeding began. And all I ever wanted was for it to stop. I just wanted this to stop. I wanted this to end. But I had to seek justice for my daughter and my son because I had already been forced to choose. The day we came here, I knew I was forced to choose. And I am not a mom that is going to sit down and care about my feelings as someone's child more than my God-given role as their mom. All of these decisions are things that I find suffocating. I have felt nothing shy of cornered for 2.5 years with the only move to make is to stand up and say my children's names, say Ezra, say Uriel, say they deserve better than this, because they did. Beautiful children, children we prayed for, longed for, and cherished. But I wanted to salvage my family, and I thought that was something that could be done because I still love each of them so dearly. It makes this so gutting. It just eviscerates me to stand here. But this court process has been skin thickening. As we've gone through, I have had to find my strength and find my voice and find a way to survive this. Survive what my children went through. My son is now 6, his name is Asher. And he asks for Ezra, he asks for Uri, and not long ago he sat down and he just said, I didn't realize they were really dead. I didn't know that they were really dead, that they're in the ground and they're dead. And a handful of days later, he came home after going to a ball practice. He had seen a newspaper. And he spelled out words on the newspaper, and it was a very recent one. And I certainly did not define those words for him, but he asked me why his gram was on the cover of the newspaper. And that was the first time he did not have a way out. Because I have never told Asher. I've never told him. Because I don't want to. I don't want to. He loves you. He loves you. He loves you, Dad. He loves you guys so much, and y'all's presence are missing from his life in a way that I didn't get a vote in. And it's caused more than just my dead children, which is so heavy. It has caused my relationships with my family, my parents, my extended family. I've never felt so alone. Ever. But it isn't about my feeling. It is about what I know. And what I know is that my son drowned on a very cold day in their pond, and he drowned alone. And I know that my daughter died on a scorching hot afternoon, alone. And I had to step out of the courtroom during the trial while they described those details, because I don't feel mentally capable of hearing those more than the times I had already heard. But that absence in that room in that moment did not lessen our presence there. We have a son and a daughter that we have to go back home to. And so yet again, we stopped and we judged and choose our living children. And my daughter, Adriel, 17 days away from outliving her sister. So I sit and I hold my daughter, and I wish that she knew her family. And I look at her, and I just see the beauty, and I'm humbled by God's mercies. That He's renewed, and the blessing He's given us to move forward. But it's impossible to not see my son, to not see my daughter. And as it relates to the sentencing, I've said this before, and I hate it so much, but as her daughter, I don't want any of this. And as their mother, I beg you to honor my children's deaths. It doesn't lessen my love for my mom. It doesn't lessen my love for my father. It doesn't lessen any of it. But as I've had to explain to my son, there are times where things happen and they're not on purpose and no one meant harm in those moments. But there are real consequences. And this is a moment that I struggle to say that. Because I just want some version of a family that I've lost. Family my children have lost. It's not coming back. And while there's room for restoration, I do put forth the request that you honor my children's deaths when you consider the sentencing. And I love you. That has not changed. And I appreciate you. Look at me. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any cross? All right, thank you, Steph. Next witness. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
I do.
See this before the witness.